Okay.
Hey, Charlie Davis was a great man. I worked with him in the 1970s in the Bay City Police Department for 9 years. Charlie was the guy you always wanted to go with when there was trouble because he had your back. He was strong, he was courageous, and he was smart. And I'll tell you what, he took a lot of grief there because he was the first black man in the Bay City Police Department. But he was the man everyone wanted to work with because you put in 8 hours and you put in a good 8 hours. And I loved working with Charlie. Good guy.
Hey, welcome to Ashy Classy Ratchet Righteous. Ashy Classy Ratchet Righteous. Welcome to the podcast. You never know how I'm feeling. Sometimes I might feel a little ashy. Sometimes I might feel a little classy. Sometimes I might be feeling a little ratchet. And you know, sometimes I can get a little righteous. Happy birthday, Pops. It's crazy. Normally, on today, I'll be calling wishing my dad a happy birthday. But unfortunately, he passed 2 weeks ago, September 5th. And so today I can't make that call asking him, if he wanted to go to the Tigers game, catch a late season Tigers game for his birthday, you know what I'm saying? So my dad's death, though, it reminded me of some things, man, that I just that you don't really think about, you know what I'm saying? Like when my dad first passed, on Facebook, I made the comment that today I lost my superhero, and which was true, you know what I'm saying? But honestly, my dad wasn't always my superhero, you know what I mean? For the longest, he was really just Clark Kent to me, you know what I'm saying? And I got to thinking, man, at his funeral and stuff, I got to thinking how, like, when Jesus said, like in Mark 6, Jesus had said, a prophet don't get no love from his own people, and that's paraphrasing. So all my Bible scholars just remember that's paraphrased. I paraphrased that, when Jesus said, prophet don't get no love from his own people. And my dad got love from his own people. So I'm not trying to say he was like Jesus now, but what I'm saying is that the people closest to him, like myself, he was just Clark Kent to us. But it was when I started meeting other people, he became a superhero to me. You know what I'm saying? It was through their stories that they would talk about that reminded me, like, wow, this dude who I just think is my dad who was cool, but, I heard folks tell stories about how he saved their lives and stuff like that. He was a police officer, so I heard folks talk about how he locked them up. But even in some of those stories, folks talk about he locked them up. Some folks talk about how he locked them up at a time in their life where they needed it. And he was the one who actually helped them turn their life around and stuff like that. And then, from him being a big bowler, I've heard the stories of people who knew him from the bowling alley and stuff, you know what I mean? And at the school, he worked at the school as a hall monitor after he retired from the police department after being a detective for all them years. And the kids who had him at the school as a hall monitor knew him as hall monitor Charlie, you know what I'm saying? But everybody always just talked about him with so much glowing love, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy, man, because the whole time, for the longest, he was right in front of me, a superhero. But to me, he was just Clark Kent. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I want y'all out there to realize that sometimes you might have some Clark Kents, or you might think they're Clark Kents, and you find out that they really superheroes around you, and I don't want you to be like, my situation. I knew my dad was a superhero before he passed, but for years and years, I didn't know he was a superhero, so if you got loved ones that's close to you, man, don't just look at him as Clark Kent, man, because I know sometimes what happens is we too close up on people, so we only can see him here, and strangers who don't know him that good are allowed to see him out here. You know what I'm saying? So don't take that. Don't take it for granted that you can see people here. Don't take it for granted and put them in that box and start looking at them as one-sided. You know what I mean? But remember that them people are more than what we just know them as. So that way, when you see or hear about them doing things, you can support them because you realize that, whoa, even though I didn't know that person got something to offer other people. And I'm not saying this, because my dad did a lot for a lot of folks. He did a lot for me. So to me, he was definitely my superhero. But for me, I learned more about my dad from other people than I did from just being around them. And maybe that was my own ignorance, of not, tapping into the legacy that he had, which I did tap into that legacy, but not maybe as much as I could have. Because, hearing the stories, he taught me how to be a strong man and all, but there was just so much to him that I didn't know. And so for y'all, man, I just want y'all to remember, man, those who close to you, man, get to know them. But get to know them more than what you know them as. Get to know them more than as, oh, that's just pops. That's just little sister. That's just big sister. That's just big bro, little bro. Or that's just cuz. Get to know them bigger than that, man. And if you have to, talk to people who know them. Because I tell you this, one thing I did find out is that whatever you do in life, you're going to run into somebody who knows somebody. So whatever you're doing in life, just make sure that when it does get back to somebody like when people will come back to me with stories about my pops, that they were good stories. So for you, make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do so that way when the stories get back to you, you're going to be a superhero, not a villain. You feel me? Deuces.